All right, the lighting is pretty bad. I'm trying to lean in a little bit and make it a little bit better. Um, Working overnight before my day job, doing security on the movie set. So have a little bit of time, maybe about a good 5 minute period. Just wanted to expound on one issue that plays a major part in our inability to solve our issue with violence in our community. And it's an attitude. It's an attitude that you find with a lot of the I wouldn't even say citizens. I wanted to say citizens in our communities, but they're not. These are people that live outside of our communities that really don't have any experience in living amongst that black urban culture or subculture. I still would like to refer to it as. They're usually educated and they usually make a lot of philosophical statements or use a lot of ideology in referencing the crime and show a behavior as if they're annoyed by the fact that anyone will talk about it. As we all know, bringing attention to matters is one of the most effective ways of getting the resources needed to upend it, to correct it. And these are people who are wholeheartedly against that occurring. They don't want to hear about black people being murdered. These are black people I'm talking about. They don't want to hear about black people being murdered. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that it's a major issue in our community. I consider them one of the greatest obstacles in this effort that many of us have undertook. Some of us, like myself, who have made it their life's work to change the culture that fuels it. And they are the people who directly oppose it by, for one, playing the blame game, not taking any personal responsibility for what goes on in our own community, or assigning personal responsibility to those who make it their life's work to act out these incidents of just senseless, ridiculous, heinous, evil violence against other people. And when I make that reference, using those terms, they're not strong enough, but those are what come to mind at the moment. They're definitely not strong enough terminology. These are people who are killing their parents, who are killing elderly people, who are killing children. And amongst this subculture, they give one another credit for those kills as if it's something that they should stand and be proud of. They assign these lives to their death toll as innocence. Like, oh, I killed so many innocent people too, so that makes me, a greater and less human murderer. And that's something that in our communities is heralded. People look up to a person that doesn't care. Oh, he's a savage. He's a demon. They're using this term. This is terminology that I've heard out of the mouths of lower aged elementary school children, calling themselves demons. But I want to stay specifically on the topic of addressing these type of people, these so-called well-educated people who are offended at any assignment of responsibility for the violence that takes place in our community. I've heard every ignorant and stupid. I kid you not that I spend sometimes hours within a day being, you know, kind of hedged in by this extreme ignorance that borders on the line of stupidity. One of the things that I've recently heard is that, oh, those those no news outlets. I told y'all these news outlets, they focus on so-called black on black crime. They don't, they don't show white violent acts against one another. This I could have simply addressed just based upon my experience, and this is going to go over 5 minutes. This is probably a 10 to 15 minute video. So if you don't have that type of time, press pause because you need to come back and listen to it. Definitely save, like, and subscribe because I'm going to be putting a lot more energy into this because there's a certain hump that we have to overcome in order to start making real progress on saving lives, on saving lives, on bringing back a culture of respect for life, for the most precious thing that exists in this world, in this universe, life. Bringing back that honor of our elderly, our respect, our admiration of them, bringing back the admonishment of our children, our guiding of them, our nurturing of them, making this the most culturally relevant thing, not how much you can shake your behind on social media, how much you can flaunt your sexuality, how much of a real N-word you are because of the fact that you don't care about other people's lives. That's our mission and our goal, and we will be successful in it as soon as we get rid of this mindset. Now, this mindset exists, not only in these commoners, but this is also in our people that are in our media outlets, our talking heads on politics, mostly I would say on the left end of the spectrum, who give no credence, no focus on these news stories, which are not bountiful. Now, to readdress, that person, it was too easy to find an article that shows that the attention is not given to the so-called, as they say, so-called, it is black on black crime. It could be white on white crime. Why are we so offended by terminology? I've never referred to it as black on black crime. I consider it crime because I'm one of those lame goofies who don't want anybody killing anybody, regardless of color. And I definitely don't want our babies and our elderly and our women strewn out across the streets, which is happening on such a consistent basis that it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. We have 4 black women being killed on a daily basis throughout this country. Black women are number 2 behind black men as the most killed in a nation where they only supposed to be representing under 20%, under 15%, allegedly. Even if it's a quarter, if you're a quarter of this country and you're getting killed at a higher rate than everybody else, you have an issue. You have an issue. So our news media, you look at the hyperbolic focus on incidents, many of which in law enforcement involve shootings involving people of color, many of which you'll look at and be like, this is a lawful use of force. laser focus on those incidents that do not happen on a daily basis, like people like LeBron James would have you believe, talking about being hunted every day, or folks like our former First Lady of the United States, who, said that she's in extreme fear of her child being killed by police. When our neighborhoods are pits of death where folks have to focus more so on being safe, on not becoming a victim of murder or of a shooting in their and their children becoming a victim of murders or gunshot victims, when they have to, that's their number one focus, is safety, not financial planning like a lot of other communities enjoy, not college planning for their children, not what vacation that they're going to take this year. Like, no, you're focused on, how am I going to get home without getting shot? How am I going to leave home and get to work or to school without getting shot? Once I'm in the school, how am I going to survive the day without getting killed? This is something that I've experienced, and that the multitude of Black people that live in urban, central, large cities across this entire nation have to deal with on a consistent daily basis. You won't go to Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, New York, Jackson, Mississippi. It doesn't have to be, one of the huge, Memphis, Tennessee, Houston, Texas. You won't go there and find out that people are just, oh yeah, I'm just living life, man. I'm not concerned about that. And if they do, they have that same mentality where they're in that process of ignoring. Oh no, until it happens, of course, they're ignoring. Oh no, man, I don't think about that. Man, please. You become so accustomed to something that's so extremely abnormal that you can, put your hand behind your back and be like, oh man, I don't be concerned about that stuff. I'm not. Come on, bro. I just move around. I just do my thing. You can't go to cities like this. This is a reality. You can go to a city like this and pick anybody who lives in the urban area, pick anybody and sit down and have a conversation with them and ask them, do you know anybody that's been murdered? You would have to get yourself a seat and at least a block of an hour worth of time to hear some of the stories. This stuff is not an individual or random incidents. It happens every single day, multiple times a day. I grew up in Inglewood in Chicago, but I've worked in every Black community within the city of Chicago, every single one. And you consistently hear gunshots, some of which strike their intended victims, some of which put those intended victims in graves. I've worked beats, one beat within a community, within a city. So you're going down 3 levels. You have the city, then you got the neighborhood within the city, then you have one little space within that neighborhood. I've worked those. I've worked beats, one beat in the city of Chicago, where bodies were falling at a rate of 3 a week. And these are all young men at that time. Of course, things have changed. Now you got a nice mix of women, and you're going to have a kid, a real child, a real baby who is completely innocent of anything involving that subculture, who's going to die who shouldn't. This should never, ever, ever, ever happen in life. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen with frequency. And these same people that I'm referring to are going to ignore it. I mean, that's, you have no experience in it. You don't know what these people are experiencing it and having to deal with this on a daily basis. You don't know the struggle that comes with it. You don't know the depression